Hey, welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. Joining us now from Yahoo Sports, a columnist, an author, the great Dan Wetzel. Dan, what's up, buddy?
What's happening, Artie?
How you doing? You seem to get all the plum assignments here for Yahoo.
Hey, what's like 5 days of listening to rape testimony in Steubenville, Ohio?
Yeah. Now, why do they send you in there? Because do they feel you could blend in amongst rapists and maybe get some of the undercover stuff?
Maybe with the mill workers.
Now, in all honesty, Steubenville, Ohio, I know for two things. It's the birthplace and hometown of Dean Martin and Tracy Lords, the porn star.
Yes.
And I guess they're also known for a great high school football tradition, right?
Yeah, they have this team. They call them the Big Red, the Steubenville High, that's won, I guess, 9 state titles and is one of the winningest teams in the country. The town's got 18,000 residents now. They got a 10,000-seat football stadium.
Wow.
And they still fill it.
So, I mean, if
not every game, but a lot of them. So, and there's no suburbs. There's not like, this is like an isolated town on the river.
Right.
It's basically in Appalachia. It's across the river from West Virginia.
Right.
And it's an old coal mining, steel mill town that's lost a lot of people because of the decline of the steel mills. But it's not like, it's not like an 18,000 person suburb where you got other towns right next to it. There's nothing next to it. So everybody knows everybody, and this is their thing. They got this great football team, and they go to the games on Friday night like you would go to a big pro team or a college team.
So, I mean, 9 high school championships in Ohio is something else, because Ohio is all about college football and, I mean, hardcore. So if you have a high school team that has a stadium that seats 10,000, an entire town of only 18,000, and they win 9 championships in the last however many years, you're talking about a real hardcore tradition. And, probably these guys can get away with a lot who are on the team, coaches and stuff. They probably, look the other way on a speeding ticket here or there, correct?
That's what everybody says. And, there's some bars that will serve some of the high school kids and have for years, if you're on the team, or liquor store will let you go, or maybe the cops will let you off on a speeding ticket or whatever. You're really the stars of the town. You're not just in high school. You're the big man in the whole city. If you're the star athlete at Steubenville High. So I don't know how far that extended, and I think some of the kids might have thought it went farther than it really did, because believe me, when they wanted to come in on them on this, they came in on them. They didn't get anything. They may have thought they were going to get away with this, but they didn't.
Yeah. Well, explain.
The perception was we do whatever we want, and there's a lot of permissive in this group of kids, and some of them got charged, some of them were just witnesses, some of them were just their friends, but they weren't around that night. But they all came and talked on the stand. I mean, the parenting was pretty weak. I mean, these kids are 15 years old. They're out till 3, 4 in the morning in Steubenville. There's nothing going on.
Yeah. Well,
so all they're doing is drinking and hanging around, and it was not there's not a lot of structure going on with these guys.
What it sounds like to me is I did stand up once at the Cape Cod Melody Tent outside of Hyannisport in Massachusetts, and it's an outdoor venue, seats like 3,000 people in a big tent. It's only summertime that they do this, and the cops there, the local Hyannisport cops, were telling me about, the Kennedy clan that's still there. I mean, you forget, we only see the Kennedys that are in the news. There's still a billion of them. They're like gnats, because, Bobby had 13 kids. They're all over the place.
Right,
and these cops alluded to the fact that they're royalty. There's Art, I asked him about them, and he goes, Art, you wouldn't even know the half of it. Well, a lot of times we pick them up doing something crazy and just drive them back to the compound, and we don't do anything.
Yeah.
So in small towns,
in winter in Hyannis, there's nobody there. Very small town.
Yeah, so in small towns you can kind of get away with that. Now, explain exactly what happened. 2 guys on this legendary football team got accused of statutory rape. Is that what happened?
Well, they were underage too. So what happened was, they have a party. They go to this party, which one of the assistant coaches on the high school team, he actually lived at the house, and this big party was there. A big party, like 50 kids. They're all drinking. This girl gets really drunk, and she ends up leaving her friends to go hang out with a bunch of these football players.
Right.
So they go to another kid's house at like 12:31. They go to another kid's house. She throws up. She has to throw up there. They kick her out of that house. They go outside in front of her house, out front of this house. She's literally out in the street, puking in the street, like laying down. They take her shirt off so she doesn't like puke on her shirt. She's just in like shorts and a bra, puking.
Oh God!
All these kids are outside, like betting each other $3 if anyone will urinate on her. Like they know she's totally wasted, right?
Right.
Then instead of saying, "Hey, let's take her back to her friends," or what are we going to do with this girl? They put her in this car. There's like four guys and her in the car. They start driving to another kid's house. One guy starts fondling her while she's passed out in the car, or pretty close to her. We're not sure exactly, but whatever. They ruled it rape. Another dude, instead of stopping him, takes out his camera phone and films it.
Oh, what a creep.
Like close-up of this thing, right?
Right.
Then they get to this house. They go downstairs. There's people coming in and out, but two guys, including the original guy who did the fondling, and then this other kid, they basically fondle her again, both of them, try to get her, do oral sex, different things like that, and then pictures are taken. Two more guys there saw it, or three guys saw it there. They took pictures. They just let it go, and then what made the case really blow up, and this is why these guys are kind of the stupidest criminals ever, they started texting and sending the pictures around amongst their friends.
Right. Well, they're idiots. I mean, on top of being,
so at the end
scumbags,
of the day,
they seem to be morons.
Crime scene photos for the cops.
Yeah.
And with all their texts, they had like a real-time diary of what they did. And then so the girl wakes up the next day. She's naked in this basement with these two dudes. And she doesn't know what happened. She can't remember. But over the next 24 hours, finally people are like, what happened? Everyone heard about it. And finally someone sends her a photo of herself.
Ugh.
And that's when she tells her parents. And then here come the parents say we're pressing charges. And then the cops come in and then we have the case. But it's pretty gruesome. I mean, the kids were just, they just no respect. I mean, it was just, it felt like, you don't know whether they ever did this before, but it felt like this is what they did. Like there was just, a drunk girl, let's just bring her back to our place.
Yeah, now another thing, though, is everybody in this situation was underage, right? So there was no statutory rape. Everybody was underage.
No, it's a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old raping a 16-year-old.
Okay, so, I mean, listen, it's an odd case because these two guys, all these guys involved, are definitely scumbags. I mean, you want to see some sort of justice done. It's almost like you want to see the beginning of The Godfather when Vito Corleone says, give this to Clemenza. Tell him I want reliable people. People aren't going to get carried away. We're not murderers. And then someone gets their ass kicked. But to call it, to label rapist on these kids for the rest of their lives, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Right.
I think these kids, it's so classless. They had so many opportunities where they should have known what they were doing. There's so much bragging. It just, it's not like this was some kind of like a mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, they were so proud of it. They're doing the text messages and stuff after. And look, the law is the law. You can't. Yeah, I think when you hear rape, you think there's going to be intercourse involved and things like that. No, it wasn't that, but that's kind of part of the problem. The law is clear on it. You can't touch someone any which way you want if you're forcing it or if they're incapacitated like this girl was.
Right.
And what these two guys on a girl is totally passed out, buck naked, and she threw up again in the basement. I mean, it's a guy filming it. Yeah, these guys, they got a decent deal. One's in prison for 1 year, juvenile detention center. One's a minimum of 2 years. So it's not like they're doing 40 years here or something like that. I mean, one will be out when he's first senior year of high school.
Well, listen.
Out when he's 19.
They're dirtbags who probably would have continued to do more dirtbag things. So you're right. I mean, nip it in the bud now. Maybe it'll teach them never to do this again because
and
if
hopefully other kids.
Yeah, right, exactly. Because if they got away with it,
kids were like, I didn't know what rape was. I thought you had to like grab a girl and be violent.
Yeah.
Like, well, hopefully more people understand you can't. you didn't need to grab her because she's passed out.
Right, because if they got away with it, right, it's a bad message to send to them and other kids. Look, also in this little town where if you're on the football team, you can get away with anything. Now, I heard that they were going to get away with this, kind of, but didn't some whistleblower website get involved or something, social media?
Well, there's a hacker website called Anonymous, which they got a lot of publicity to the case. And one of the things they did is they were able to hack into people's computers, as I understand it, and get this one real famous photo now of the two kids holding the girl like they're going to carry her outside.
Yeah.
Like she's totally passed out. And then they also uncovered this video that was up on YouTube for a little bit where another kid who really had nothing to do with the case was at a house laughing and joking about it, talking about how raped she was and how she was the dead girl. And just it sort of just showed the attitude of all these kids. It wasn't like, oh, my God, there's a girl getting raped. It's like, ha, ha, this girl's getting raped. And whether it's a joke and, the guy probably never thought it would be part of a criminal case, they were also so brazen they let someone film them doing it and then put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
A lot of these things they're just so stupid and arrogant. You're like, why would you? You can say people say a lot of bad things. They don't put it on YouTube.
Well, worse than stupid, it might be that these guys are like, no, we're smart enough to realize we could get in trouble, but we're so hands-off in this little town because we're on the football team, we're just going to do it anyway.
No awareness.
Right.
No awareness.
We're just going to do it anyway.
Of course, everyone will think it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not going to think it's funny on YouTube. You know? They're not all drunk at the end of a night of a partying and you're telling bad jokes. So, it's pretty ugly. There were so many times where you're just like, my God, guys. Just as a guy, you're like, how could you guys be that bad?
Yeah.
How could you guys be that ridiculous?
Yeah, well,
you see a guy fondling a passed out girl and you take out your cell phone and film it?
No, it is.
That's beyond just looking the other way.
It's awful. Yeah, it's awful. No, it is. It's participating in it. It's what it is. It's adding to her. Even though you don't physically touch her, it's adding to her complete and utter humiliation. That's going to hurt her psychologically. Sure. And the next day she had to be told what happened. That's how bad it was. So when I first heard the story, I was like, oh, God, do I want these guys labeled with rape forever? But now talking to you about it, I'm like, hey. They got to send a message here that this is not allowed. You can't do this and get a slap on the wrist.
Especially these two kids had they had numerous opportunities to not be involved. I don't think there's ever. That's just a line you can't ever cross.
Right.
So, as the law, they're going to have to deal with it. I'm not that upset at the shorter prison times. They're young kids. Look, you let the kid back out and he can finish high school and go on, and they feel all right with it. Hey, no problem. I don't have a problem with the 1 and the 2 years. But so I think they're pretty happy with the deal they ended up getting. If you're not, because they would have had to get out at 21, but that's between 4 and 5 years of prison instead of 1 to 2 years.
Right. Listen.
Pretty happy with what they ended up with.
Yeah, that's a real punishment. And I got to tell you, speaking of The Godfather, they're lucky they didn't do this in Youngstown, Ohio, because from what I hear of that town, they might have been dealing with Clemenza afterwards.
Steubenville is pretty much the same thing. They got lucky.
I assumed.
They got lucky that this girl's parents went to the cops, because that's a tough town.
Yeah,
I don't think they would have been the first to have gotten floated down that Ohio River.
You got to watch whose daughter you're fondling over there. Well, listen, good job, Dan. I mean, that really makes everything crystal clear now to me, and I'm sure to other people, that I think what happened was just, and I guess with this social media, this website, anonymous.com or whatever it did, I guess it worked. It just sucks it out to go to that even, because it sounds like they might have gotten a bigger slap on the wrist.